Mic check. Hello, everybody. It's really good to see all of you here today. As I thought about my comments today, I realized there's a lot I want to say to you. So I was just saying that to some folks in the hallway. I have a lot to say, and they're like, well, people don't come to a State of the University expecting it to be brief. So settle in, because I got a lot to say. I'm hoping to talk with you today a bit about where we've been. There will be a bit of a history lesson here, where we are, and how I believe we are situated for the future. I also want part of my comments to be something of a love letter, if you will, to our students and our alumni, or at least a message of incredible admiration and gratitude for all that they bring to this institution and to the community. So that's going to be the arc of my comments today. But I'd like to begin by recognizing some people in the audience, and I would say special guests, but you are all special guests. We are here with faculty and staff and students and community partners, elected officials. I would like to, in particular, though, acknowledge the elected officials and the representatives of elected officials who are here because their service is so fundamental to who we are as a society and as a region. So if you will stand up if you're here, I have seen many of you, but not all of you. State Representative Juanita Brent, Chief Administrative Officer from the City of Shaker Heights, Jerry Chaikin, the Mayor's Office Special Director, Assistant Director for Capital Projects, I'm off to a good start, huh? Keisha Johnson-Chambers, City Councilman Joe Jones, State Senator Kent Smith, and Council Member Ward 5 for the City of Cleveland, Richard Starr. Thank you so much for your service. I'd also like to acknowledge and recognize the Board of Trustees, those who are here, those who are watching online. I won't introduce them all because they're up on the screen, but let me say this. I talk to presidents all over the country, and there are varying stories of presidents' relationship with the trustees. I feel truly blessed to work with the trustees that we have, not because they uniformly support everything I do. In fact, they are great critics in the best possible way. They hold the mission at the core of what they do, and they are true thought partners. They are allies and supporters in the work. And if you are a trustee who is here, including our faculty and student trustees, if you're in the audience, if you would just stand and be recognized, including Vanessa Whiting right up here in front, and Chair David Reynolds. At the core of what we do in higher education is something that we think about all the time, but not everybody who's not in higher education thinks about, and that is shared governance. There is a role for administrators in shared governance. There is a role for the Board of Trustees in shared governance and the staff, and there is a central role for our faculty. And the faculty elect officials to form the Faculty Senate. And each year we have Faculty Senate leaders who guide that Faculty Senate body and work closely with the administration. If you are an elected Faculty Senate member of the Faculty Senate at CSU, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you. Thank you very much. And in particular, I would like to recognize the Faculty Senate leadership who we are just starting the cadence of working together for this academic year. And again, it's not that we always agree, but that I so cherish the partnership because we are working in good faith towards the mission that we all cherish. And that would be Faculty Senate President Carol Olszewski, our Vice President, Professor Dana Hubbard, I should say Professor Carol Olszewski, our Vice President, Professor Dana Hubbard, and our Secretary, Jacqueline Jenkins. I thank you very much for your service. And I'd also like to recognize our Faculty Senate, our senior leadership team, the cabinet. These are the people with whom I work most closely on a day-to-day basis. I am so grateful to these leaders for providing the counsel that I need during a critical time of re-examination of the university and for their eagerness and willingness to approach our challenges with creative solutions. These senior leaders touch virtually every aspect of the campus. And the senior leaders who are in the room, if you would please stand and be recognized. And I would include among that our deans, who are not all listed here, but the deans and the senior leaders of our campus. Please stand and be recognized. There are two other people that are not a part of the senior leadership team or the dean's cadre or the faculty senate with whom I work most closely. These are two individuals who have become indispensable colleagues and vital confidants to me as president. And the happy thing is they have also become cherished friends. And that is the Director of Communications in the Office of the President, Mr. Phil Eves, who is in the back running the slides. If you know my voice, you know Phil's voice. We work very, very closely together. And Mandy Apathy, my cherished colleague, is a special executive assistant to the president. I think anybody who's had to interact with me has interacted first with Mandy, and you're so fortunate that you have that opportunity. So over the past year, I have been asking offices all across campus, departments, divisions, department heads, including my own, to think differently about how we do what we do, to rethink how our work is structured and how we will accomplish that work going forward. I've used this opportunity, if we want to call it an opportunity, this past year to do that same work for myself in the president's office and with this senior leadership team. So earlier this fall, many of you know this already, I announced several changes to the structure of our senior leadership team. And with this new structure, the senior leadership team includes broader areas of expertise. We've essentially flattened, I have to talk with my hands sometimes. We've flattened the organization. We have eliminated a division of business affairs and finance and created more opportunities for voices to report directly to the president and be a part of that senior leadership team or that cabinet. In flattening the organization and making these changes, not only have we elevated some remarkable expertise within the universities, it will yield a financial savings over time, and we have been able to signal where we have the greatest priorities and where we need people and most involved. So just briefly, these new additions to the cabinet that are so important to me. First of all, Nicole Addington, who is our Chief Financial Officer now, if you'd like to stand up, who had been our controller for a number of years, brings 20 years of higher ed financial experience to this. We welcome Dr. Stephanie Brooks as a dean to our cabinet. She is our dean representative. She will serve in that role for 2 years, and that will be a rotating role, so there will always be a dean who sits at the table. Dr. Wissam Hilu, who is our Chief Information Officer. Wissam has been in that role for a while, but he has not reported directly to the president. And as you'll hear in a little bit, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is our much needed and long overdue investment in our technological systems. And to have Wissam at the table as we're talking as a leadership cabinet is essential. And then we welcomed, where did he go? Sitting over there all by himself. Dr. Randy Daike, our Vice President for Enrollment Management. Dr. Daike brings to CSU 4+ decades, not that I'm aging you or me, of enrollment expertise. He is nationally known for what he has been able to do in the area of enrollment management. We are so fortunate to have him here at this critical time, particularly because he has a special passion for access and serving and supporting students who are underrepresented and underserved traditionally in higher education, being a first-generation college attender himself. And then I would be remiss if I didn't recognize former trustee Kelly Tompkins. Some of you know that Kelly Tompkins stepped out of retirement earlier this summer, it's not summer anymore, to serve as our interim vice president for business affairs. It was a generous move then. It required him to step away from our board of trustees, and he served remarkably well during a time that we vitally needed his support. Now he steps back as we restructure this team and will continue to serve the institution this academic year as a special advisor for business affairs on a much more limited capacity. We're so grateful to you, and if you would stand, we'd love to recognize you as well. This is the team. With all of the people, so many faculty and staff in the audience, this leadership team, all of you, I'm feeling really good about the work that we have to do. And let's make no mistake, we have work to do, and it will be hard. We know that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. As I use this time to recognize some of those who are here with us today, I'd also like to recognize for a moment the people who are not with us. Over this last year, well, first of all, let me say, in an institution with 14 plus students and over 1,500 employees, things happen. We lose people. This year in particular was tough for us. We had some tragic losses. We have lost colleagues, students, friends, and mentors far too soon. And I would like to dedicate my remarks today, especially the interesting ones, the ones that are about hope in the future and leveraging our past experiences so that we are prepared for the future. Those hopeful comments I'd like to dedicate to those beloved students and colleagues and partners who we have lost. When we ensure their contributions to this place are sustained, they themselves are long remembered through those contributions, and that's so important to all of us. So as we think about Cleveland State University in the year 2024 and beyond, looking forward, I have found it helpful and worthwhile to reflect on the history of our university and the circumstances that led to our founding 60 years ago. I know I gave you a bit of a history lesson last year when we were here, not that you were all exactly the same audience, but this is very important to me, and I think it should be important for all of us. For me, it puts a lot of things in perspective. So here's your history lesson for this year. In 1962, 2 years before CSU was founded, James Rhodes, a candidate for governor at the time, pledged as a part of his campaign that all Ohio residents would live within 30 miles of a higher education institution, a public higher education institution. That was his campaign pledge because he was looking to meet the growing demands of employers in the state and the growing desire of high school graduates to continue their educations and receive the experiences that they need to be successful in their chosen fields. In the years that followed, CSU was one of 4 new public universities that were established. At the same time, and consequential to some of the things we are grappling with now, the state's already established universities grew as well, creating dozens of branch campuses all across the state of Ohio. Without a doubt, the effort of Governor Rhodes was successful. By 1969, there were over 358,000 students enrolled in colleges and universities across Ohio. 10 years earlier, it was less than half that, at 169,000 students. And all citizens in Ohio were within 30 miles of a higher ed institution. We know, you can't really look at a newspaper to understand that the consequences of those decisions have implications for where we are now. That's just our reality. I'm not here to fix that. That is just a reality that we must be aware of. So in 1964, when CSU was established, it was founded on the existing Fenn College. Now, Fenn College had been here for a while and itself was an extension of an earlier program at the turn of the last century. Fenn College was founded in 1923 based on the YMCA's education programs at that time, and it was designed largely to serve engineering and business students who were interested in a model that allowed them to both earn a degree in the classroom and also on the job and in the workplace, which is interesting considering the kinds of conversations we're having right now about co-ops and internships. So last year, we celebrated Fenn College's centennial. Dean Richard Chapoister is here with us. Where did I just see? Richard is back here. Hosted a fantastic celebration in partnership with the Business College and the entire university. And we came to realize that the history of that college is key to the history of CSU now. We both played a vital role in Ohio, and it's easy to see the Fenn College mission woven throughout what we are doing. So now it's this year. Last year, 2023, celebrating the centennial of Fenn College. This year, 2024, celebrating 60 years of Cleveland State University. It is, in fact, our Diamond Jubilee. We've done a lot in 60 years, folks. Not me personally, but I want to tell you how we started this year of commemorating these 60 years. Thanks to the efforts of our marketing and communications team, along with our Department of Africana Studies, we had the opportunity to recognize and reflect on CSU's shared anniversary with a critical milestone in our nation's history. And this one's personally important to me as a policy scholar. The year CSU was born is the year that the United States passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We cannot separate those two realities. The Civil Rights Act and the founding of CSU are inextricably linked in the history of this city and the history of this institution. With the exhibit that we staged last spring, Protest to Progress, we put this up in Berkman Hall for everyone to see, and we examined CSU's infancy during this pivotal time. We looked at the city of Cleveland, the students of this institution, the faculty and staff and administrators, and how we were exploring the new cultural context and what role this institution could play in the city of Cleveland, thinking about social justice and civil rights. The exhibit offered us the vivid reminder of how Cleveland State University began, the ways in which we succeeded during that tumultuous time in this country, and the ways in which we faltered. And perhaps most importantly, it showed us just how far we have come and how far we have yet to go. Our core mission as an urban public university has largely, the core of that mission has largely remained unchanged since 1964. We are here to provide education and opportunity to our students and to serve the communities of the greater Cleveland area. Yet the context in which we do this work is so clearly different from that time when then candidate Rhodes and then Governor Rhodes imagined higher education in the mid-60s. So here's a little bit of the present. There's your history lesson. You got your history lesson down? As we well know, institutions of higher education are facing challenges on many fronts, a lot of headwinds that we're looking at. To determine how we move forward, I fundamentally believe that we must be honest with ourselves about the perception of higher education today. Not all Americans see the value of a college education the same way they once did. So if you take a look at this slide, I don't know how well you can see it, but since 2015, the public's confidence in higher education has dropped 20 percentage points, according to a Gallup poll. So the orange line is a great deal and quite a lot, people who felt that the value of, in terms of confidence in higher education, and the blue is a great deal. And you can see the drop. We can't ignore that. I'm not telling you how we're going to fix it, although I have some ideas, but we can't ignore it. In addition, students in middle school and high school now, who would become our next class, right, of students enrolled in college, are showing less interest in enrolling at any college or university. Fewer students have plans to attend college either full-time or part-time. At the same time, the number of upcoming high school graduates planning to head directly into full-time jobs has more than doubled, now accounting for 11% of the Gen Z population. So that's one way, that's a narrative that we can talk about. But there's another way to look at this, and I'd like it to keep it in perspective. So when we look at these slides, I'm going to turn over here, I can see it better. The blue bars, 13 to 17-year-olds who we identified as millennials. So in 2003, this is what they aspired to: attending college full-time, attending college while working part-time, and then working full-time, military and other. The orange line is now 13 to 17-year-olds, the Gen Z population in 2023. So we can say that it's substantially decreased, and we could say the number of people who want to go to work full-time has doubled. We could also say that despite the decline in confidence that we see across the country, and despite the declining interest in going to college, almost 3/4, 74% of all middle school and high school students still aspire to college, either full or part-time. Those are the people that we are seeking to reach. So the sky, in my book, is not falling. The headwinds are real, the challenges are real, we have to look clear-eyed. The sky is not falling for higher education. What we have to do is hear the clarion call and make the changes that I believe society is asking of us to make. So now let's look at CSU within that context. At census time, when things stabilize in the fall and we actually count our students, we had more than 14,200 students enrolled at CSU this year across all of our degree programs. That includes a fall class of 2,800 new undergraduate students, 1,000 new graduate students, and 200 new law students. I am pleased to report that this is well within our projected enrollment numbers, and it's actually slightly higher than last year when everybody else was projecting that we would have a decline in enrollment. I give huge shout outs and credit to our team for doing such a great job of recruiting those students here. Let's give them a round of applause. This number of new and returning students is a solid reminder to me, and should be to all of us, of our imperative, our role as an urban public research university, and our responsibility to serve those students. So we can talk about 14,000 some students, it's a big number, but each one of those students, each of those individual students has their own story, their own journey, their own dreams, and our priority is to support them on their individual journey. They don't think of themselves as one of 14,200. They think of themselves as a young adult or sometimes a mid-career adult on a journey to achieve their goals. That is really important for us to keep in mind. I know that when we succeed in advancing our mission together, we succeed in helping them achieve those dreams. And so even though we look at the data, we look at the trend lines, we look at the overall numbers, what I find most encouraging and motivating in my day-to-day work is to think about the personal stories, the individual students that I meet on campus and talk to, and perhaps most poignantly, the graduates that I have the opportunity to meet, and the anecdotes that show us that CSU does in fact provide a transformative education for so many students. As president, I get this great opportunity to talk to alums at events. I travel sometimes to meet with alums where they live outside of Ohio, visiting with them at their homes, and those opportunities are terrific times to hear their stories, their reflections about CSU, their advice about what we should be doing better. There's a little bit of that sprinkled in always. And their memories of this place and how it impacted them. So over just 2 years as your president, I have had the most heartwarming conversations and heard really powerful stories. And in those 2 years, I have seen a through line woven across those stories that has been very, very moving to me. So in preparation for today, we've taken the time to speak to some of those alums, some members of our community, and capture some of the conversations that I have with dozens of people. This is not dozens, this is a short synopsis of what I hear, so that you too can see in condensed form that through line that seems so crucial to the story of our alums. Let's take a look.
If not for CSU.
If not for CSU.
If not for CSU, I might not have gone to college. I actually applied to 6 universities, and Cleveland State was the only one that accepted me, might I add, on academic probation.
About 9 years later, after coming up with every excuse under the sun not to go back to school, I finally decided to do it. But a little voice said, go to Cleveland State.
It was really a transformational experience. I had never been on a college campus before. That moment, it just really changed my life.
I wouldn't have been able to pursue 2 postgraduate degrees. Cleveland State fulfilled my need to both have an affordable education, but a high quality education, and showed me how I could be a servant and a leader in Northeast Ohio.
I came to Cleveland State after having attended 2 other colleges, didn't perform particularly well. And when I landed in Cleveland and started going to Cleveland State, my entire education turned. Thereafter, I relatively quickly got a job at an investment firm headquartered in Cleveland, Today, I'm the CEO and chairman of that company, and we have 24 offices around the world, 12 in the United States, and manage about $36 billion in assets.
The professors at CSU are truly committed not only to the students, but to their success. I met some of the best people in Levin and in the law school, and I'm forever grateful for their commitment to my success.
Say it in one word, they gave me the chance. And I think that's endemic of all of our students. There's so many of them that if you just give them the chance, give them that opportunity, they will run with it.
I dreamed of inspiring the next generation of music therapy students, and I dreamed to be the shoulders on which they could stand to reach their dreams. Thanks to CSU, my dream of being a professor of music therapy has been realized.
At this point in my life, what's important to me is giving back. For the past 6 years, I've served on the CSU Foundation Board of Directors, which helps with increasing both transactional and transformative gifts, and also an advisory board member for the Weston Ideation Lab that promotes my passions, which are entrepreneurship, critical thinking, and problem solving.
I've served on many wonderful boards, including Esperanza, Cuyahoga County Public Library, University Circle Incorporated, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, and the Cleveland Foundation. This is service I'm so proud of, and I wouldn't have been able to do or be prepared for, but for Cleveland State.
This is a place that never lets you down. This is a place that provides an opportunity, even as an alum, to engage and learn and to just interact with fantastic people.
I am so thankful to CSU for preparing me for the workforce. The professors that I encountered in not only Levin, but in the law school were committed to me, and they were committed to me having a really good life.
I'm proud to say that I graduated from Cleveland State with a 3.97 GPA many years later. And as a result, my time, my talent, my treasure, I give back to this university.
Pretty inspiring. But for CSU, it makes me so proud every day. And these are just a few stories. This is just a little nod to my colleague in the back that I just have to go off script for a moment and tell you something that happened this summer. I was asked to speak on a panel for the GCP, the Greater Cleveland Partnership annual meeting. Some of you were there and might remember this. In an unscripted moment that I'm not sure my fellow panelists appreciated, I just said, show of hands, how many of you in the audience have at least one degree from CSU? This is the Greater Cleveland Partnership, essentially our Chamber of Commerce. And at least a third of the audience raised their hand. Let's just do it here. How many of you have at least one degree from CSU? Look at that. What happened afterwards that day was really powerful. It was hard for me to get out past the reception because so many people wanted to stop and share, that's right, their but for, or if not for, CSU stories. I wanted to share a few of them with you today, but we're going to be sharing them over the coming weeks on my social media platforms using the hashtag #IfNotForCSU. I'd encourage you to follow along and take a look. These stories inspire me because they move us past the trends and the data points and the relentless conversation about the headwinds. These stories are the heart of our mission. They are records of the individual transformative experiences that our students articulate, they appreciate, and they deserve. CSU provides students with opportunities that change their lives. Our faculty, our staff, our professional partners change our students' lives. If not for CSU, makes me proud every day. And so where do these graduates go? Our graduates go on to become a driving force in Northeast Ohio. We know that a disproportionately high percentage of our students stay in the area. We've shared those data many times. A majority of our graduates do remain in the region, they become significant contributors to our major industries. I'll share some of this. I think you can read many of them, but I'll share some summaries of this. More than 1,000 of our alums are working in the Cleveland Clinic. They're developing and maintaining the healthcare systems that many of us rely on. Another very significant portion of our alums are working in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. They are teaching and aiding young learners as they themselves come to understand the value of a strong education, and at the same time, It's not only teachers and advisors. We are also preparing the business leaders and the transit providers and the policy people who are at CMSD. In fact, as these data, if you aggregate it, would indicate in the top 20 employers of our alums, 29% of those alums are employed in educational institutions, 25 in healthcare industries, 15 in manufacturing, and 7 serving vital public sector positions. We power in many ways, not exclusively, but I'm not speaking for everybody else. I'm here talking about CSU. We power Northeast Ohio. These industries are relying on our graduates to graduate and be prepared to head into the workforce. As a university working in partnership with our community, we provide the critical link between our students and these partners. So let's take this notion of if not for CSU a little bit farther. If not for CSU, students looking for professional guidance and connections to Cleveland's longstanding industries wouldn't be part of, for example, the Sherwin-Williams Career Accelerator in the Monteahuja College of Business. Last fall, we invited our inaugural class of second-year students in accounting, finance, and information systems to participate in the program. These students receive personalized advising and support, and they have access to career readiness workshops in corporate fields. We'll soon be expanding this program to include more students in work programs across campus, and in addition, we can and we will replicate this model with other employers in the region. We can do so much more of this. If not for CSU, so many of our students wouldn't be learning from subject matter experts that are among some of the best faculty in the country, and I'm not kidding about that. We have faculty who, let me just say it, could go a lot of different places and choose to stay here because they too are committed to this mission, to this place, to this region. Faculty like Dr. Charles McElroy in our Department of Information Systems, who earned the top prize in the Defense Data Grand Prix, which is a competition hosted by the Department of Defense, for his project, Identifying Disruptive Technologies. Dr. McElroy is a global industry leader. He joined this institution about the same time I did, and he is a remarkable addition to our community. Faculty like Dr. Stacy Leadham in our Department of Counseling Administration. This is a mouthful, it's a two-breath title, Supervision and Adult Learning, we call it CASEL. Dr. Leadham was recognized as one of Crain's Cleveland's 40 under 40 as a leading researcher on the COVID-19 pandemic's lasting social and well-being impacts. She is a leader in this community, she's a leader on our campus. And Nick Klein, our head of voice in the School of Music, you see him up there, who received an Emerging Leader Award from the National Association of Teachers of Singing. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Nick is leading what we call a vocal theater workshop, but it's not like a workshop, it's not like preparing. What those students produce is remarkable. I've attended the vocal workshop performances the last 2 years, and they were truly impressive. This fall, they will be staging and performing an original musical by an alumnus, Jacob Bremkant, titled Poe is Dead, as well as the opera Cosi van tutti. I have told Nick this several times. I'm not a huge opera fan, and I have gone to those operas and loved them. They do this in collaboration with the CSU Symphony Orchestra, and there's a QR code there. If you want to scan it, we'll give you a second. You can get a ticket and join me in going. If not for CSU, our students wouldn't have the opportunity to share their talents on stage in the second largest theater district in the country. Every year, our Department of Theater and Dance puts on performances in Playhouse Square where the public can come to see our students and enjoy musical theater, dance, and drama. This past year, those students put on performances that included the musical comedy Avenue Q, an original production of Ancestra, co-written and directed by Holly Holsinger, the chair of our theater and dance department, and sitting right back there. Yay, Holly. In addition to our student performers, CSU students are stage managers and technicians who operate equipment, build the sets and props, and much, much more. They are learning about the business of theater, and they are doing it just across the street. I do this when I talk about campus and Playhouse Square. That's how closely linked we are. We are inextricably linked to the second largest theater district in the country. What an opportunity, not only for our performers, but for the people who are interested in the dozens of professions, front of house and back of house, that go into operating major live theater. So our students go on to build careers as actors, screenwriters, dancers, stage and theater managers, and other roles that can keep them connected to the performing arts. Trustee Paul Dolan isn't here today, but he and I both serve on the Playhouse Square board, and last night we had a board meeting. And just to give you a sense of how cool this opportunity is for our students, you may not know this, but our Playhouse Square is an investor in original musicals, and decided to invest as a producer in The Outsiders, which is the show that won the Best New Musical this year. So last night at our board meeting, in our Playhouse Square, we all passed around the Tony that we received as a community for being a producer of The Outsiders. That's pretty awesome. Those are the opportunities that our students have. And one more about Playhouse Square. It is home this year to a short film produced by our students in our School of Film and Media Arts, the only freestanding film school in the state of Ohio, I might add. The Downtown Video Marquees played the film. You'll see it playing, I believe, as I'm saying this. Pride at Playhouse Square, which included both animated and live action sequences to celebrate Pride Month. What an opportunity for our students to design, produce, and show this film for thousands and thousands of people to see. Graduates of and what a resume builder. Graduates of our Film and Media Arts go on, or our School of Film and Media Arts go on to deploy their filmmaking skills in marketing departments of Fortune 500 companies, in the commercial filmmaking industry, and in schools and universities like CSU. In fact, our own videographer, Val Garrett, in university marketing. Is Val here? Where is Val? There's Val. Is a CSU alum, a graduate from our film school, and thanks to Val's incredible skills, our YouTube channel has been actively posting new videos to show off so many aspects of CSU. In the past year alone, our videos received more than 18,000 views just on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Val. Will you just stand up and be recognized? If you have seen CSU Matters in the little video clips we produce every month, you have seen Val's work. Hey, Val, is your mom here? There's your mom. Congratulations, Mom. We think Val's pretty awesome. If not for CSU, our athletes wouldn't have the chance to compete and take home conference championships. We are 365 student athletes strong, representing 21 countries and competing on 18 teams. That group of 365 student athletes earned 11 team and individual league championships last year alone. Our student athlete and softball player, Jenna Dieng, was selected as Horizon League's nominee for the NCAA Woman of the Year. She's a remarkable scholar athlete. And thanks to our athletics department, student athletes at CSU are encouraged not only to be the best they can be in their chosen sport, but also recognized to reach their highest in the classroom. This is where I'm most proud of our student athletes. 72% of our student athletes last year were recognized for academic achievement, earning a GPA of 3.25 or higher. This, when you look at athletic programs among our peer institutions, is a remarkable accomplishment. And the entire department recorded a cumulative GPA of 3.5 for the 35th semester in a row. That's amazing. This past year, 2 of our 5 university valedictorians were student athletes, Kirsten Clark and Jenna Dieng. And I believe it was Terry Pluto who wrote an article last year about the incredible number, I get teased about how often I use the word remarkable, the remarkable number of women on our women's basketball team who are engineering all-stars. They are an impressive group. So while I'm on the theme, or as I'm beginning to pivot off the theme of if not for CSU, it seems only fitting that I take this opportunity to share a story, or at least to tease a story about an alum that likely most of us, or all of us, will never have met. Walter Lee McCombs was a graduate of our law school in 1976. Walter McCombs went on to have an extremely successful and lucrative career at Abbott Laboratories. He married Catherine McCombs. They had no children and they had very little extended family, but they had a rich, full life. Well, we didn't know, although there was a scholarship in the law school in honor and recognition of Mr. McCombs, he was not actively engaged on our campus. What we didn't know is throughout his life, he carried this passion for his CSU education with him. And when he set up his estate, in his will, he indicated that he would want the vast majority of his estate upon his passing to go to his alma mater, CSU, because they gave him a chance, we gave him a chance, and because we offered him a scholarship when no other institution would because of his academic standing. Mr. McCombs and now Mrs. McCombs have sadly passed away, and what comes to us, which we will announce later this spring, is the largest single philanthropic gift this university has ever received because of what happened to that young man at CSU. We never know. We never know. I get a little verklempt when I think about that. It's pretty remarkable. Whether you go on to great wealth or not, every student in our classrooms could be that student whose lives we transform, who has their own but-for CSU story. We'll share much more about the McCombs gift and how we will celebrate it next spring. It's not only our students and our alumni who can say, if not for CSU, we also can share that pride point with our communities across Northeast Ohio. I just want to give you one example. Our speech and hearing clinic in the College of Health provides services to anyone in the area, not only those affiliated with CSU, not only those with insurance and ability to pay. The clinicians running the program do everything they can to ensure that patients and clients continue to get services, therapy, and equipment that will allow them to communicate, listen, and interact with the world. We did a CSU Matters video clip on the speech and hearing clinic, and we learned about elders who have suffered strokes and whose insurance does not allow them any more treatment or support, who keep coming back week after week, month after month to the clinic to continue to get support from us. And we learned about families with young children with autism who come back also week after week to get support so that their children can communicate better. Take a look at that CSU Matters clip. Is there a QR code there? Yeah, you can check out that QR code. It's, again, thanks to Val Garrett, we've got it there. Let me just grab a drink quick so I don't cough into my microphone. If not for CSU, hundreds of young individuals with special needs wouldn't have had the opportunity to be on our campus this year with the Special Olympics. This past year, our Department of Health, Science, and Human Performance and the College of Health hosted 2 such events that allowed young boys and girls with developmental disabilities to hone their skills in the fundamentals of basketball, lacrosse, and soccer. It was a festive day on campus. Hundreds of participants from Cleveland area schools and scores of volunteers came together on Krensler Field and in Woodling Gym to embrace the athletic spirit and learn from one another. Our students and our Special Olympians worked together, and it was a beautiful thing to see. Parenthetically, I just want you to know, some of you are also involved in this effort. CSU is very involved in working with Destination Cleveland and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and others across the community to launch a bid to host the 2030 USA Olympic Games, Special Olympic Games here. If we're successful, this will bring 5,000 Special Olympians to our community and over 100,000 fans to watch. And if we're successful, a large part of that work will happen here on CSU's campus. It's a vital way that we can serve this community. And if not for CSU, students at Hathaway Brown School wouldn't have experienced this past spring's total solar eclipse in quite the same way that they did. As an outreach project, our chapter of the Society of Physics students worked with high schoolers at Hathaway Brown to educate them on the science of the eclipse. And not only did these high schoolers gain that knowledge, they then were able to turn around and share that knowledge, share what they knew with first graders at the school. And for their work, our students here on campus received a prestigious outreach award from the National Physics Organization. It's the second time our students have received that award in 3 years. And if not for CSU, this is the big one. The projected gaps in the knowledge and professional experience available to us in Northeast Ohio would grow larger in the years to come. But working with our community partners, we've been making concerted efforts and will continue to make concerted efforts to avoid the harm those gaps could bring. For instance, medical professionals, as you well know, are predicting significant shortages in healthcare fields, in workers and researchers in the years ahead. We're working diligently in our School of Nursing to build the kind of program that can meet the crying need for nurses in this region. And this year, the Washkowitz College of Engineering launched a new undergraduate program in biomedical engineering, another hugely growing field with a high demand for trained professional biomedical engineers. We're enrolling our first cohort this fall. And thanks to a team of faculty from the Cleveland Clinic, very close partners of ours, our students are learning alongside instructors from one of the world's most prominent healthcare systems. Just like I say, we're right across the street from Playhouse Square. We are just down the street from one of the most prestigious healthcare systems in the world. And I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about the deep partnerships that we have with university hospitals and Metro Health, as well as the clinic. And we have students, well, you saw, the #1 employer of our alums is the Cleveland Clinic. We have students participating in clinic labs and fully understanding the role that their research skills can play in advancing healthcare innovations in this community. In partnership with the Cleveland Clinic, we're also able to offer several joint doctoral degrees. I don't think we often talk about our doctoral programs at CSU, but they are alive, and in many places they are thriving. Students interested in, this is a mouthful, applied biomedical engineering, cellular and molecular medicine, clinical and bioanalytical chemistry, and regulatory biology have an advisor at the clinic, as well as unique research opportunities. Think about that. That's here at Cleveland State University. These are top-tier doctoral programs made accessible to a wider range of students because they are here at CSU. And now last example, I promise, last example. We're also working to address the needs of more computer science education in Cleveland. We know also this is a huge and growing need and a labor market demand. Last fall, in this very ballroom, we launched the Center for Computer Education and Instruction. This center is the culmination of over a decade of work. I see Debbie Jackson in the back. She has been intimately involved in this for a very long time, as has our provost, in partnership with the Cleveland Foundation and the Cleveland Metropolitan School Districts. With this new center, what we're going to be able to do is to create the opportunity for our region to have teachers prepared and experienced and excited to teach computer science education courses and create opportunities in our K-12 schools. When our K-12 students are prepared for this, they are more prepared to enter college, ready to pursue degrees in this growing field. In fact, careers in information technology are expected to grow at twice the rate of the labor market in the next decade. We're uniquely poised to do this work. So as an institution of higher learning, as a pillar of Greater Cleveland, and as an employer, it is our responsibility, I believe, to continue creating generations who will proudly exclaim, if not for CSU. So what are we going to do to live up to this responsibility in the midst of these difficult times, these headwinds in higher education? That's what I want to talk to you about now, where we are and where we're headed. For starters, we've been taking a hard look at how we need to operate today compared to how we operated 5 or 10 years ago. Let me just acknowledge, as I talk about this, that this is painful and sometimes contested ground. I know that. I recognize that. This is not easy work. This is hard. I got nothing to say to fix that, just to acknowledge it. Over the last year, we set in motion a process by which we would review the financial stability of CSU at all levels. In consultation with our Board of Trustees, we established a committee of senior leaders and trustees to conduct this extensive review. And we're thankful to community partners who stepped up and foundations in the community who helped us with the financial, to provide the financial support so that we could retain external expertise to do this work without taking a hit on our own budgets to do so. We analyzed enormous amounts of data in new and different ways to more fully understand what we need to do differently. Last fall, the steering committee dug in. They collected and analyzed the data. They looked at structures. They looked at comparable peer institutions. They looked at the national data trends, and they put all that together. The committee focused their assessment both on where we could reduce our budget, which we knew we needed to do. You've heard me speak about that publicly. We weren't shy about it. Didn't figure it would help to just not talk about it. It doesn't make it go away. Let's be honest about it. We also wanted to talk, though, about where we might most strategically invest in the future, even as we think about what we need to do with right-sizing our budget. And in May of this year, the committee submitted their consolidated analysis and findings to the Board of Trustees. Among these recommendations was a voluntary separation incentive plan and other right-sizing measures, which we put into action this summer. Already, we have said goodbye to faculty and staff members who chose to depart, to leave the institution under this plan, and we will see more voluntary separations or departures through this academic year. It is clear that we needed to reduce our employee headcount to balance our budget, and I am resolute in doing that. It is equally clear and true that saying farewell to colleagues has been difficult and painful. We wish them well, and I very much hope to see them on campus at events like this, as we cheer on our students, as we graduate our students, and as we celebrate their accomplishments. I very much hope that the colleagues who have left us through the voluntary separation agreements will remain a part of the CSU community, and I'm serious about that. Because of our efforts, I am pleased to report that in late August, we presented a balanced budget for fiscal year FY25, and the board has approved that budget. The senior leadership team and I, no rest for the weary here, we immediately turned then to looking at FY26 and doing this all over, not the same thing, but to achieve the remaining structural targets that we need to achieve in the next fiscal year so that we are on sound financial footing. We are doing that work, and I have every expectation that we will be successful with all of your help and support. Each year, the senior leadership team and I also develop a shared set of institutional priorities. And once we establish those priorities, we break them into measurable action items. This was last year's report. You can go online. You don't need the QR code. You can find it on our website. And you can read about the priorities and the metrics that we reported on for this last academic year. Setting these priorities going forward, though, is going to look a little bit different because now we embark on a new strategic plan. It's time for us to look ahead, clear-eyed. We've looked back, we've done our deep data dive, we know what we need to do to have some right sizing so that our revenues are in line with our expenditures or vice versa. And now we need to reframe our future with a clear-eyed look at what is admittedly challenging times, but times that can also give rise to new opportunities, commitments to excellence, and in fact, new investments, as we've talked about. This summer, the Board of Trustees and the senior leadership team both met in retreats to just think about what would we put in a new strategic plan. Where do we want to go in the years ahead? What would stand us apart? What would be the groundbreaking work that we would like to achieve? What would help us to grow? And how might we best meet the challenges of the region and rise to the opportunities that it presents? We brainstormed, we came up with a lot of ideas, and most importantly, during those initial planning sessions, This spring and summer, we found areas of common ground in our thinking. We discovered topics and ideas that seemed to resonate, and we saw consistent themes emerge. This is not going to sound transformational, but it is clear. It is very, very clear. 2 years ago, I stood before you as your newly invested president, and I spoke to you then about our position in Cleveland, and that for all of us, this city is our campus. This is true even for our online students who benefit from the rich economic, intellectual, and natural resources of Cleveland. It's even true for our international students, many of whom will take what they learn in this city and bring it back to their home communities, wherever they may live. That idea has continued to flourish and gain momentum within the institution and in our partnerships. In conversations about our strengths, it has become clear that our downtown campus and the large number of students we educate from Cuyahoga County alone, not to mention the counties surrounding it, mean that we are, in fact, Cleveland's university. Proudly and unabashedly, Cleveland's university. We have the potential to provide infinite opportunity to those around us, to our students, to our faculty and staff, many of whom are also our alums, and to this region. This is what we do well. This is what we're known for. We are Cleveland's university, and we have the opportunity to do all of this better and to grow into that vision of who we are. This is a commitment we can reaffirm ourselves to in the coming years. So if we're planting our flag on this notion that we are Cleveland's university and we have the potential to provide infinite opportunity to our students, but also to our staff, our faculty, and our community, then we must hold ourselves accountable to it. We must measure our ability to succeed in those priorities. And already we've got metrics that we are looking at regularly that give us some indication. We look at student graduation rates and year-over-year retention and quarter or semester-to-semester persistence. We know, based on those metrics, that we have room for improvement, and we will set aspirational targets as we reorganize ourselves to double down and commit to those students' success. We're evaluating where we are, where we need to be, and I believe also if we say we are serving this region, we need equally stringent metrics to say, how are we serving our alums? How are we serving this community? And this will be the crux of our new strategic plan. To keep you updated on the plan and the development of the plan, of course, we've created a new webpage that you can go to. We know how many hits are on it, so we know that our faculty and staff and students are going to it regularly, and you can go there to monitor our progress and also to provide input. We've convened a strategic planning task force who is doing the intense work of developing the plan, but doing it in consultation with the entire campus community. And then reframing the work and sending it back out into the community in sort of a reiterative and iterative way. When I charged the task force, I said, we don't want a heavy, detailed, multi-page report. I'm looking for a framework. How is it that we take this idea of we are Cleveland's university and we offer infinite opportunity to the people who affiliate with us? How do we take that idea and then hook onto it? What's happening in each of our colleges? What's happening in the clinics, like our speech and hearing clinic, that help us achieve that? I want a framework that's digestible for all of us, a framework that we can build on. And we're not doing that work alone. The task force isn't doing this alone. We've worked this fall to gather input through a number of online sessions. Hundreds of you have zoomed into those information sessions and provided input on where we are with the plan. I want to give you some data points. I know it's hundreds who have participated in the sessions. When we have asked for your input, we have received individual responses from 448 of our colleagues and stakeholders. That's a really high number for something like this because it's all voluntary. 69 faculty, 198 staff members, 177 students, and we will continue to ask for that input. When we ask for written input, we get a lot. Some of it's very helpful, some of it's very congratulatory, some of it's painful to read. Some of it is highly critical of some of the things that we do. I want you to know, if you have written anything on those surveys, I have read every single word. I print it out so that I can write in the margins, and single-spaced, I have over 40 pages, single-spaced 40 pages of your written feedback, and I've read every single word. We will not be able to acknowledge or incorporate every part of it, but already several changes that the task force is making to the strategic framework as it evolves is based on that. Our timeline is ambitious. I want this plan done by Thanksgiving. We can, sometimes in higher ed, we can admire things for a really long time and not get to action. We're going to get this thing done. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we should have a plan in place by Thanksgiving so that we can share it with our Board of Trustees for final approval and ratification, and have a plan in place early in the beginning of the academic year, or the next calendar year. Finally, we don't have to wait for the plan to be in place for us to do some of the things that we need to do. It's not like everything stops with our innovation while we're building this plan. In fact, a couple of really key things are underway that are consequential and in many cases quite groundbreaking. These ideas in motion are our initial wave of next generation innovation at the university, and I'm eager to share them with you. Last year, I talked about this time about the new Division of Student Belonging and Success, and I also talked about how we were wrapping up the first really tumultuous phase of realigning our colleges. Those initiatives are in the pipeline. Change is hard, culture shift is hard, we're still figuring out the details of those, but those are in the pipeline. And now I want to turn to some really consequential things we are doing that go to the very heart of who we are as an institution. That is our academic core. Some of this might seem like inside baseball, but in fact, it's really vital and it's groundbreaking. First, for over a year, our faculty and team provost, led by our provost, Dr. Nigama Schrader, have been moving at a really incredible pace in reimagining our core curriculum. Some of us who went to college a long time ago might remember things like our general ed requirements or our distribution credits, these things that all students had to do to get their bachelor's degree. We're rethinking that. This group has not only looked at the requirements that we have in place, the things that we say our students must do to graduate. They've also thought about our whole core curriculum holistically. What do we want our students' academic experience to be like? What must our students know and be able to do to be ready for a future that is ever changing? And this is the part that I think is really key, how might we most meaningfully link these essentials that we know our students need to know and be able to do to something that is already part of the students' own interest? What grabs them? I think about, for myself, I did not understand why I should care about statistics. I just didn't understand why I should care about statistics until somebody showed me how it could answer questions that I was asking about the world. Now I have a minor. In my master's degree, I minored in statistics. I would never have thought I would do that. But there were questions I wanted answered, and statistics helped me to answer it. So I really, on a personal level, get this. The result of this thinking, this work that our faculty did, and those of you who think that our faculty take their summers off, oh no. There are faculty who are working really hard over the last couple of summers on this. The result is what we are calling CSU's new inquiry core, focusing on the development of skills that our students need while they're taking classes and that they will need after graduation. In completing their core requirements, we want our students to learn how to find answers for themselves to the questions that they seek. We want them to be able to look at hurdles along their path and creatively figure out how to overcome those hurdles using the academic skills that they're learning. We want this work to be relevant to them and relevant to their preparation for graduation. Development of the inquiry core is still in progress, but it happened at a truly an amazing pace. We're going to be ready to launch the Inquiry Core in the fall of 2025. And when you think about these questions that students have, the faculty have identified 5 key areas, 5 key sort of inquiry pathways for our students: environmental sustainability, emerging technologies, leadership, social justice, and health. Our students will be able to get all of the core requirements they need in a path relevant to their own interests. And we've also been thinking critically about our course offerings and how they roll into a degree and match with the student's interests and goals. We know this is messy for students whose passions don't fit neatly into one degree. Students who say, well, I'm really interested in this, but I'm also interested in this, and both of them seem really relevant to what I want to do. This led to our faculty pursuing the idea of integrated degrees. Let me give you an example, and then we'll talk about why this is a big deal. This is just one example. Let's say we have a student who is interested in a degree because they have the intent of creating intuitive and attractive user interfaces for software programs. And they think, I want a degree in computer science so that I can learn how to develop these software programs. But where am I going to get the skills and the ability to make them really user-friendly and visually appealing, and how am I going to understand the design element of this? Well, that student would benefit from an integrated degree in design and computer science. And if we had that prepared for them, they wouldn't have to figure out how to build their own individual course of study, or they wouldn't have to double major, some of us have double majored. That is a bridge too far for many of our students who just don't have the time or the resources to double major. So to build these integrated degrees is a huge deal. We have looked, we being the faculty, not myself personally, at other institutions, and we know institutions who offer integrated degrees, this is a differentiator for them. This sets them apart. We wanted to be that institution in Ohio. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, when the Department of Higher Education for the state of Ohio approved our 11 integrated degrees, we became the first and the only public institution in the state of Ohio to offer these degrees. Yeah, it's a really big deal. I'm grateful to the provost and his team, and I'm hugely grateful to the faculty who have spent countless hours, often of their own time, in making this a reality. We'll soon be communicating these new degrees. You can see them listed there to our incoming students. And I just wanted to say something else about this. As we developed these, we worked with our employers in the region. They were partners in saying, this is what we need. This is what we're not seeing in the students who are coming to us. This is how you could make this a fuller degree. And these are built in partnership with them, with their input. This is what employers in the region told us that they are looking for, these kinds of interdisciplinary skills. And also, when you go to the website now to look at these, there's something that I think is vitally important to our prospective students, and that is for each one of these integrated degrees, first of all, you can see the full course of study. So anybody can go in and look at exactly what you have to do to get that integrated degree. And then there's a whole section that says job outlooks. For each one of these, a student or a prospective student could see what kinds of jobs could I get with this degree? What kind of earning power might I have? Where do people with this expertise go, and what do they do? That will be a huge resource to our students, and we intend to keep that updated regularly. And those of you who are getting really, like your feet are falling asleep, I'm almost done, really, I promise I am. Speaking of our website, though, I do want to tell you that in recent months we've made significant upgrades to our online presence. Just a few weeks ago, our main page, csuohio.edu, got a major overhaul. And with the new website, we improved the online experience for prospective students and their families who are looking to learn more about CSU. This essentially is our front door to the university for a whole generation of students and their families. And it wasn't user-friendly, it wasn't visually appealing, and it was hard to navigate. All of that is being fixed, and I give a huge shout out to our marketing and communications team and our content managers all across campus. Any of you who have been involved in a website overhaul know it's an enormous undertaking. I think of it as putting gloves on an octopus. It's really hard to do because there's so many moving parts and they move quickly. But we got it done, and I'm very, very proud of the team. Again, it feels like inside baseball, but still, if that's the way students learn about us, we want them to have a terrific experience. And that's just one of the tech upgrades. I talked about investments. Even as we're right-sizing, even as we're doing that hard work, we have got to invest. And we are going to start with investing in our technological systems that many on our campus have said have been outdated and under-resourced for far too long. We cannot just ask people to do more with less. We have to have the systems in place to help people do their job better. So in the coming months, we're going to have a comprehensive review of all of the systems, the HR systems, the finance systems, the student registration systems, the student monitoring systems that need to be upgraded and integrated so they can talk to each other on our campus. We're going to do a complete analysis of that. We cannot do it all at once. The need is too great and too convoluted and too complex. But what we'd like to have under the leadership of Wissam Hilou is a comprehensive plan and a roadmap so that any of us can say, this is what's going to happen over the next 3 years. I can't stand this part of whatever system is bugging you today, but you know where it is in the pipeline. Once we do that, then we can work the plan and we can get this done. I'm confident of it. Inquiry core, integrated degrees, investment, right-sizing, a new strategic plan launch, a technological overhaul. We have a lot going on, and it is all with an eye toward the future. On December 18th of this year, it will be 60 years to the day that legislation was signed establishing Cleveland State University as a new public university for the state and as the urban university for the city of Cleveland. In those 60 years, CSU has graduated more than 145,000 students. In those 60 years, we've grown our campus to become truly and proudly a fixture at the heart of Cleveland. Now, together, we need to continue that legacy, and we will in the years ahead. Let's continue to focus on the next generation of students who will know that, thanks to CSU, they achieved their dreams. They will write their own but for, or if not for, CSU story. These are the students of Cleveland State, and we are Cleveland's university. These are the men and women who chase their dreams, often defying enormous odds against them to create their own, if not for CSU story. These students and graduates are the leaders who will build our future. I am proud to serve them as this institution's president, and I am so excited to see what comes next for them and for all of us. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know why you're standing. Your legs are asleep. Okay, so now for the second half of my comments. Two things. First of all, I hope you will stay and enjoy refreshments out in the foyer, visit with each other. There's a lot of really awesome people in the room. I hope you get a chance to meet somebody you know or don't know, connect with people that you know, and enjoy the string quartet. Some of you know that almost every time we have a gathering here on campus or in the university's home for the president, I like to celebrate our student musicians. So you will see a string quartet out there, Patrick on the violin, Micah on the violin, Mackenzie on the viola, Nancy on the cello. Be sure and thank them. And then I just have to say, we didn't talk about this, Sonali, but this is the university's living room. So much happens in this. I'm looking right at Joanne Schwartz and remembering the beautiful memorial service we had for Michael Schwartz here. This is where I delivered my every State of the University address. This, at 5 o'clock today, is where we will host a free speech forum at a time when there's a lot going on in the world, and our students, faculty, and staff really have the opportunity to think about how do we exercise free speech on a university campus in a way that is respectful, safe, and honors everybody's right to have a voice. So if you are inclined to stay, can I do that, Sonali? Can I invite people to stay if they'd like? Otherwise, she can tell you no, but just I wanted you to know that this place will be hopping for the next several hours. So stay, enjoy refreshments. If you've got the time, you're welcome to stay for the Free Speech Forum. And again, thank you so much for being here today.